Congratulations on the purchase of your new Gerkin storm door. Your new Gerkin storm door will bring you years of maintenance-free operation. Using the proper installation procedure is very important in helping your storm door perform at its best in energy performance and operation. The tools needed for installation include a carpenter's level, a hacksaw, a hammer, both a flat blade and a Phillips screwdriver, a center punch, a drill with 1/8, 5/16, and 5/8 inch drill bits, a tape measure, pliers, a pencil, and a metal file. You will also need a package of engineered wood composite shims. Locate the door opening dimensions on the door carton and confirm that they match the dimensions of the frame the storm door is to be installed into. Next, it is important to inspect the door package for any damage before opening the box. If you find any damage, do not open the box and contact your Gerkin dealer. Assuming there is no damage, open the carton from the back side. Now remove the storm door from the carton along with all accessories and hardware kits. Next, lay the carton on the ground and place the storm door on top of it. Remove the cover tape and the tape holding the header rail in place. Now remove the header rail and set it off to the side. Next, remove the plastic banding from around the door. Note, as soon as the banding is removed, the latch rail and hinge rail will be loose on universally hinged doors. Confirm that you have the hinge rail, the latch rail, the header rail, a closure kit, a latch kit, vinyl sweeps, and screw covers. Depending on the model, you may have insert retainers. Carefully remove the hinge rail and the latch rail and set them aside. Now remove all shipping pads. Note, retain the storm door carton for later use. Depending on the model, rotate the door to the interior side in order to remove the shipping clips. Then remove the glass and screen inserts for easier installation and remove them from the installation site to protect them from damage. Store these items in an upright position until they are needed. Remove the storm door installation instructions and the storm door installation screws from the closure kit. Measure the height dimension on both the left and right side of the opening. Note the rise of the threshold. The height dimension should be taken towards the back of the opening. Use the smaller of the two measurements for the height dimension of the door and record that dimension. Doors will fit into opening widths that are 1/4 inch smaller or larger than the stated dimension. For example, a 36-inch wide door will fit into an opening width from 35 3/4 inches to 36 1/4 inches. Note that at the minimum opening width, the door will only fit if the opening is perfectly square. For a standard storm door, Gerkin doors will fit into opening heights from 80 inches to 81-inch dimensions. Stand outside the house facing the door to determine which side you want the hinge to go on. Gerkin universal hinge storm doors can be hinged on either side. In this case, the door will be hinged on the right side. Next, mark the storm door with a pencil to indicate the hinge side of the door. If the opening is larger than the dimension of the door, shim or block the opening to the stated dimension. Next, shim the hinge side up to 3/8 inch. If more than 3/8 inches required, shim the latch side. Shims should be divided evenly between both jambs. There must be a 1 1/8 inch clearance from the face of the opening to the door stop in the prime door.
If the door dimensioning does not meet the size requirement of the opening, apply a furring strip around the perimeter of the brick mold.
Use the door carton as a protective pad and rest the storm door on the carton with the hinge side up. We've already determined that for this installation, the hinge would be on the right-hand side. On the door frame, there is a 1/8 inch pilot hole approximately 10 inches down from the top of the door. This is the placement hole for the hinge rail. Position the hinge leaf on the edge of the door with the hinge rail towards the outside with the weather stripping facing up. Interlock the hinge leaf into the kerf on the exterior edge of the door by first setting the hinge leaf on the door jamb. Next, slide the hinge towards the outside face of the door until the hinge leaf interlocks with the hinge kerf on the door. Align the screw holes in the hinge with the groove in the jamb of the door. Apply a number 10 1/2-inch self-drilling screw into the bottom hole of the top hinge. Use a power screwdriver for the hinge screw installation. Remember that the hinge must be interlocked for proper placement of the hinge of the door. Note, there is an alignment groove on the door. Make sure that the groove is on the center line of the holes in the hinge. Start all hinge screws on the alignment groove. This will ensure that all of the hinges are aligned. Make sure that the alignment groove on the door is aligned with the center of the holes on all hinges. Note, 1/8 inch of the hinge rail should be extending above the top of the door. There will be excess length extending below the bottom of the door for you to cut to fit your opening. Care must be taken when mounting the hinge rail to the door. If the hinge screws are out of alignment, or the hinges are not seated correctly, or the screws are not tight, the door will not operate properly. Align the rest of the hinges in the same manner as the first by interlocking the hinge into the kerf on the door, making sure the alignment groove is aligned with the center of the holes on the hinges. Fasten the remaining hinges using the number 10 1/2-inch self-drilling screws. 2 screws are required for each hinge. Note, the screws must be aligned on the alignment groove for the door to hinge properly. Measure the height of the door opening along the inside edge of the hinge jamb. Note the slope in the sill. Starting at the top of the hinge rail, measure the same dimension as the opening height, less 1/4 inch, and make a mark on the bottom of the hinge rail. Note, the sill expander may need to be removed before cutting. Using a hacksaw, cut off the excess from the hinge rail. If the sill slopes, you may want to angle the cut to fit the slope of the sill. Use a file to remove any rough edges from the end of the hinge rail. Remove the vinyl sweeps from the closure kit. There will be 2 sweeps. Insert the vinyl sweeps into the channels on the bottom of the expander. If a sweep binds in the channel, hold the ends taut and stretch tightly as you insert the sweep. Lubricant will also assist in installation if needed. Secure the sweeps by crimping the ends of each channel with a pair of pliers. Trim off the excess with a utility knife. It's important to note that wrinkles and folds may occur in the vinyl sweep. This is typical for this product, but since the sweep is made of a flexible material, it will return to its original flat shape in a few days of operation. The sill expander can be adjusted up to 1 inch in height using the sill expander adjustment screws. Position the hinge rail in the door jamb, leaving a 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch clearance at the top of the hinge rail for the header rail. Be sure that the hinge rail fits tightly against the jamb. The hinge rail must be plumb. Using a level, check the plumb of the hinge rail in both the in and out position and the side-to-side position. Using a number 8 1-inch screw, fasten the hinge rail to the door jamb. 2 screws are required per hinge. Pre-drilling may be required for aluminum-clad doors. Open the door and install number 8 1-inch screws into the 2 holes on the inside of the hinge rail. Do not over-tighten screws. Deformation of the hinge rail in this area will result in incorrect operation of the hinge. Check the swing of the storm door and make sure it is plumb and level. Position the header rail on the head of the opening. The header rail will sit on the top of the hinge rail, and the end of the header rail will align with the edge of the hinge rail. With the storm door closed, adjust the header rail to maintain a 1/8 inch reveal between the door and the header rail. Next, fasten the header rail to the opening with number 8 1-inch screws. 3 screws are required to anchor the header rail. Pre-drilling may be required for aluminum-clad doors. Measure from the bottom of the header rail down to the sill. Mark and cut to match the slope of the sill. Note, when cutting the latch rail, cut the sill end. Using a hacksaw, cut off the excess material from the latch rail. If the sill slopes, you may want to angle the cut to fit the slope. Use a file to remove any rough edges from the end of the latch rail. Position the latch rail in the door jamb. The top of the latch rail should butt against the header rail so that the edge of the latch rail aligns with the end of the header rail, being flush with the header. Next, install a screw in the top hole of the latch rail. Close the door and adjust the latch rail to maintain a 1/8 inch reveal between the door and the latch rail. 7 screws are required for the latch rail. Install remaining screws and retain a 1/8 inch reveal between the latch rail and the door. Do not install the glass or screen insert until the door hardware is completely installed.
Enclosed in the latch kit carton are the instructions to install the hardware. It is important to follow these instructions carefully. Double check that all of the hardware needed is included in the carton. The outside latch handle and outside latch housing plate, the latch spindle and latch spindle spring, the outside deadlock assembly and keys, the inside latch assembly, the inside deadlock assembly, 3 latch strike plates. There should be 7 latch strike shims, 2 inside deadbolt machine screws, 2 inside latch machine screws, 2 latch strike sheet metal screws, pan head, a small socket head sheet metal screw, a hex wrench, and a deadbolt spindle. Note, a separate screw pack is included for cabrio doors.
Place the latch handle drill template on the storm door at the desired height. We recommend 38 inches to 40 inches from the top of the door to the center of the outside lever. Make sure the placement of the handle and lock doesn't interfere with the handle of the prime door. The height of the storm door handle may need to be slightly higher or lower, depending on the height of the prime door handle and the clearance between the 2 handles. fold the drill template on the two dashed lines. Position the drill template around the storm door and secure it to the inside and outside of the door by removing the adhesive backing. Before drilling, it is recommended that you use a center punch to eliminate the chance of the drill bit walking. Follow the drill targets printed on the template. In this case, drill 6 1/8" pilot holes on the outside surface of the door. Note, only drill half of the door's thickness and do not penetrate the opposite side. Then drill 6 1/8" pilot holes on the inside surface of the door. Note, only drill half of the door's thickness and do not penetrate the opposite side. Next, widen the holes on both the inside and outside of the door by carefully re-drilling the holes using a 5/16" drill bit. Finally, drill the top center hole to a diameter of 5/8". Remember to only drill through the surface and not more than halfway the width of the door. Remove the drill template. Place the latch spindle with the latch spindle spring into the exterior door latch, and then place the latch into the outside of the door frame. Place the inside handle assembly over the latch spindle and install with the latch machine screws. Note, do not use power screwdrivers or over-tighten the screws. Check the latch by moving the lever up all the way and letting go. The lever should return to its original position. Next, drill a small pilot hole and fasten the bottom of the latch plate to the door with the socket head sheet screw using the hex wrench provided with this kit. Close the door. From the inside of the house, hold the strike plate in position. Mark 2 holes with a pencil and install the strike plate with the provided 2 sheet metal screws. If there's a need to decrease the clearance between the bolt and strike plate, install 1 or 2 shims behind the strike plate. Next, remove the keys from the deadbolt. Place the end of the deadbolt spindle into the lock cylinder in the outside deadbolt assembly. Insert the deadbolt assembly into the deadbolt holes on the outside of the door. The spindle must project through the door and shims. Position the inside deadbolt assembly on the spindle with the deadbolt throw pointing opposite the door hinge when viewed from outside the door. Secure the deadbolt with the provided deadbolt machine screws. Gerkin storm doors do not require the deadbolt strike. The closer may be installed on the rail at the top of the door or on the mullion strip near the center, whichever is desired. At the desired height, fasten the jamb bracket to the door frame with the open side 1/4 inch from the main door. Note that moving the jamb bracket up to 1 inch away from the door increases the latching force, but will normally reduce the door opening. Slide the hold open washer onto the rod. Using the short connecting pin, connect the closer to the jamb bracket. Pull the closer out slightly to position the washer over the lugs and against the tube. Do not change this until the installation is complete. With the door tightly closed, attach the door bracket to the front hole in the closer with the short connecting pin. Note, as an option, if the door has a center mullion plate, attach the door bracket to that plate. Make sure the closer is level when holding the closer and door bracket against the door. Mark and drill 2 1/8" holes. Caution, do not drill through the door. Fasten the door bracket to the door using the 2 short screws. Open the door and move the hold open washer to the back of the lugs on the rod. The speed of the closer may be adjusted by turning the adjusting screw on the end of the closer. These installation instructions are recommended for winter use or whenever the glass storm panel is in place. For a smoother, quieter closing, hold the door open with the hold open washer. and remove the long connecting pin from the door bracket. Reinstall the connecting pin in the rear hole of the closer tube. This position is recommended for summer use when the screen panel is in place. On the head jamb, measure 18 inches from the hinge side of the door and make a mark. Place the bracket on the spring end of the safety chain. Mount the bracket to the door head jamb at the 18-inch mark from the hinge side of the door. Note, mount this bracket at approximately a 45-degree angle on the head jamb. Fasten the bracket to the door head jamb using the 2 short screws. On the top of the door, measure 19 inches from the hinge side of the door and make a mark. Pre-drill 2 holes and then mount the second bracket on the top of the door at the 19-inch mark in a horizontal position, and fasten the second bracket using 2 short screws. This allows for a 90-degree opening of the door. If more than a 90-degree opening is desired, move both brackets closer to the hinge side of the door. Close the door and attach the hold-up spring by twisting the hold-up spring to the lowest link of the chain. Swing the chain towards the hinge side of the door and fasten the hold-up spring to the head jamb with a nail about 3 inches from the jamb. Note that chains are only used on doors with single closers. Place the glass and/or screen insert into the door. Snap-in glazing retainers are supplied to hold either the glass or the screen insert in place. Place the open side of the snap-in glazing retainer against the inside of the door frame. Starting at the corner, slide the edge of the snap-in glazing retainer into the pocket of the door at a slight angle. Press against the flat side of the snap-in glazing retainer with your thumb until the edge snaps into the pocket. The glazing retainer will snap in as you move down the frame. To remove the snap-in glazing retainers, start with the top retainer. Start on one side of the glazing retainer by pushing in and pulling down simultaneously. This will allow the glazing retainer to release. Continue pulling in a downward motion until the retainer is fully released. Set the glazing retainer off to the side for reinstallation. Next, move to the glazing retainer located at the bottom of the door and push in and pull up in order to release the retainer. Move to one of the vertical glazing retainers and push in and pull away from the door frame in order to release. Repeat previous process on the additional vertical retainer. When removing the final glazing retainer, hold the glass or screen so it does not fall out of the frame, as it will be loose and ready for removal. Store the unused panel in a safe place. To adjust the SILL expander, loosen the adjustment screws and push the expander down or up until the sweeps lightly touch the door sill evenly across the width of the door. Tighten the adjustment screws. Snap the screw covers into the track on the hinge, latch, and header rail to cover the exterior installation screws. Trim the excess from the screw covers both at the header and on the sides. Open the insert by disengaging the latches and lifting up. Pull the bottom of the insert out and away from the door at an angle to the door. Tilt the insert until the corner keys disengage the track. Pull the insert away from the door. To replace, reverse the first 4 steps. For cabrio-style storm doors, when pulling down the screen for the first time, disengage the sash lock by twisting inward. Then gently slide down the glass insert and remove the shipping clips which appear as you are sliding the glass down. If you purchase the option for a canopy vent, then the door will already be prepped with a hole for the canopy to be placed in. Supplied with the interior and exterior canopy vent are 4 pan head screws. The canopy hooded portion is screwed onto the exterior of the storm door. The vented piece is screwed to the interior of the storm door. By closely following these storm door installation procedures, your storm door will perform at its best in operation and energy performance. Thank you for choosing Gerkin Storm Doors.